Welcome to Channel 1's Civil Rights, Dignity, and Access Training. I am Jennifer Belisle, the Programs and Agency Services Director for Channel 1 Regional Food Bank. Our agenda for this training is to discuss the protected classes covered by civil rights rules and legislation, to review privacy and confidentiality requirements, to talk about customer service and conflict resolution through the lens of dignity and empathy, to make sure that we understand the particular requirements for USDA food assistance programs, including TFAP and CSFP, and to go through some common scenarios. First of all, the training is a requirement on an annual basis for staff of Channel 1 Food Bank and our member agencies who distribute USDA commodities. That is TFAP, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, distributed through food shelves, and NAPS, Minnesota's Nutrition Assistance Program for Seniors, the Commodity Supplemental Food Program. I know in the past we have done things like distribute handouts and PowerPoint presentations and asked people to read and sign off on them. We're hoping that this training is a little more interactive and answers more of your questions. We also want to make sure that volunteers at any program who assist with registration or who interact with client shoppers also understand civil rights and other requirements. The training is accessible and available throughout the year, especially for new staff and new volunteers. I'd like to talk a little bit about Channel 1 Regional Food Bank's values. We put the people who are experiencing food insecurity at the center of everything that we do. They're the heart of why we are here, and they are the reason for our mission. We're committed to creating an inclusive culture and respecting the diversity of all of our communities. We want to build and foster a culture of continuous improvement and innovation. And we believe in working in partnership with local communities like you and our peers around the region to improve nutrition and to promote food security. Another way of saying this is do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, you do better. We're not offering this training and requiring people to sit through it because anybody's been doing anything wrong and we need to correct that. We are committed to knowing better and doing better. Protecting civil rights is important for many reasons. First of all, it's the law of the land. It also protects Channel 1 and agencies and programs from liability and civil rights violation claims. Most importantly, protecting civil rights helps shoppers and individuals in our communities feel safe when they access food. It literally reduces food insecurity and hunger by building rapport with communities so that people feel comfortable accessing the food assistance programs that they need. And very importantly, it's the right thing to do. There are several groups of protected classes. First of all, federally protected classes from the USDA non-discrimination statement. Also, the Minnesota Department of Health oversees the CSFP protected classes for our NAPS boxes, and in Minnesota, the Minnesota Department of Human Rights is responsible for the Minnesota protected classes. A couple of things to note: Channel 1 and our food programs take the widest lens of protected classes, and both individuals who derive some of their income from public assistance programs under the USDA non-discrimination statement and public assistance status under Minnesota protected classes are important to note. That means that the individuals receiving our food because some of their income is derived from public assistance, are themselves a protected class. The efforts to protect civil rights are important to reduce and eliminate discrimination. Discrimination can be intentional. It can also be by neglect or lack of action. We're concerned about 3 types of discrimination. First is disparate treatment. Second is disparate impact. And third is reprisal or retaliation. Disparate treatment is if the Channel 1 food shelf said, we are no longer going to serve men over the age of 60. That would be treating a group of people based on a protected characteristic, age and gender, in a different way. Disparate impact is a neutral rule. Maybe the Channel 1 food shelf says, we are going to draw the line for our service territory along this road in Rochester. On the other side of the road, there could be a community that has a protected characteristic such as national origin, religion, or another characteristic that would not have access to the Channel 1 food shelf for a neutral rule, just the side of the road that they live on. Reprisal and retaliation is if either of the groups in those scenarios complained and we said, okay, you can still shop at the Channel 1 food shelf on Friday afternoons, a half an hour before we close. That would be negative treatment because they had spoken up and made a claim based on a protected characteristic. Data, privacy, and protection are very important to all of our programs. First of all, individuals are not required to give us information. Second, we only ask for enough information to tell individuals apart and to decide how to serve them best. People have the right to know what information we're collecting on them, to have it explained, and to correct it if we get it wrong. Protected information is anything personal and private. We understand things like medical records, public assistance information, bank records, our personnel files are protected information. That extends to food shelves and food assistance programs as well. Releases of information identify what information can be shared, with whom, how long it can be shared, and how to withdraw it if people no longer want us talking to somebody else on their behalf. For CSFP and TFAP programs, the proxy form and the proxy designation are important as a release of information. We limit who can access protected information. We keep both paper and electronic files secure. We retain records for the required amount of time. In the case of TFAP, that's 7 years. And when we destroy records, we do so safely and securely. That means deleting electronic files permanently and shredding paper files, not burning or throwing them away. When do we not share public information? First of all, not in public, including our food shelves. We never know who may overhear private information. Years ago, when I was a candy striper in a hospital, we were told never to talk about patients in public, including in the lobby, on elevators, or at the nurse's station, because we don't know who might overhear that conversation. And it's the same with shoppers in our food shelves. We don't share information with our neighbors, our community members, colleagues, even within our own families. One thing that I've noticed here in Rochester at the Channel 1 food shelf is how many working families we support how many working individuals come in and shop at Channel 1 branded with the name of the business that they work for on their clothes. We would want that information respected, and we wouldn't want their neighbors, maybe their church members, parents of children at their schools to know that they're shopping at Channel 1. We also don't share information with the media, public officials, case managers, anyone supporting individuals in the community, or even law enforcement. Any information requests on who is shopping at Channel 1 food shelf or other member agency programs should be referred to that agency's leadership. We respect privacy because failing to do so violates civil rights. Also, we want to protect identity theft. Breaking confidentiality leads to stigma about food insecurity, hunger, and poverty. I know people in this community who stay away from food shelves and food assistance programs because they are so afraid of somebody knowing that they shop there and that they need access to those food resources, that it's literally increasing hunger in our community. We respect privacy so that we can support people in a way that's meaningful to them. It's okay to share stories in the community. We want to be good advocates for food insecurity and hunger. We want to, however, make sure that we have someone's permission to share stories, including a media release, before we do so. Stories can be anonymous, but in small communities and in large communities, simple details can identify someone. It is okay for aggregate information to be shared, to say, here's how many households we've served, here's how many women in this time period, here's how many senior citizens or children. We do that to support fundraising, to analyze, and to improve equity and access in our communities. That's okay to do. I want to talk a little bit about eligibility. TFAP, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, is the basic eligibility for food shelves receiving USDA commodities. Households that receive public assistance are automatically eligible to receive food from TFAP food shelves. Eligibility is self-declared, so if somebody was receiving SNAP, they would have to show proof of income. They would have to verify who's in their household. For TFAP food shelves, that's not the case. We take people's word about the information that they're providing to us. We don't need proof of address or any identification to serve people at a TFAP food shelf. The Nutrition Assistance Program for Seniors, the NAPS program, which is Minnesota's Commodity Supplemental Food Program, is a little bit different. Because we're supporting adults 60 years and older, we do need to see proof of their age. That doesn't necessarily have to be a driver's license or a Minnesota ID. We do need to know where they're living, so we ask to see proof of their address. It's important for that program to verify someone's a Minnesota resident, and also to make sure that they're not living in a facility that provides meals, such as a nursing home. Customer service is important to all of our food programs, but we are looking at that through a different lens this year, the lens of dignity and empathy for the people that we support. Shoppers at our food assistance programs have had very different experiences than many of us and have had very difficult experiences, including trauma, violence, stress, and health issues. Because of that, individuals can misperceive threats, they can have a hard time regulating emotions, and they can seem a lot more impulsive. Individuals can also be triggered by even a simple gesture like putting a hand on a shoulder. Differential treatment, anything that feels unfair and arbitrary. Being treated as lesser or feeling like people are enjoying their misfortune. One thing that I know in this community is I could go to any of the hotels in downtown Rochester and ask to use the public bathroom and be shown where that is. Some of our client shoppers, if they went into a hotel, they would be told there's no public bathroom, you're not welcome here. Because of that, we want to provide exemplary above and beyond customer service. There are things that we can do to improve our rapport with the people that we support. First of all, emotional contagion is a psychological phenomenon where using positive emotions increases them with the people around us. We can smile and say, welcome, we're glad you're here, and be as upbeat as we can, and that's going to go a long way to building rapport. My New Year's resolution was to try and use positive versions of negative statements whenever I can. So instead of asking my husband, what were you thinking, to say, that's interesting. Could you tell me more about that and help me understand where you're coming from? That's a little bit of a silly example, but we can do it in our own food shelves. Instead of saying, you can only shop here one time a month, to say, you're welcome to come and shop here every month. It's the same statement. One is a positive version and one is a negative version. Compliments are always welcome and they go a long way to building rapport. We can also use them strategically. Instead of saying, your children are rowdy, to say, your children have so much energy. We're glad to see them. Treating people as equals goes a long way to build rapport in our food assistance programs. We have a lot in common with the people that we serve. First of all, in Minnesota, we can all talk about the weather. Gosh, it's cold out there. Gosh, it's hot out there. Too wet, too dry, too much snow, whatever. We all have it in common. We can also use this strategically to convey important information to the people that we support. When we have a lot of vegetables and we want to make sure that people see that and have access to that, we can say, I love zucchini. I see you're getting some. How do you like cooking it? Do you know other people who might like zucchini? Is there a recipe that we can share? Asking questions, again, strategically to convey that we care goes a long way as well. Instead of saying, you took too much food, what were you thinking? Or you took too much food, we don't have enough for everybody, to say, can I help explain what's available today? Can I show you what other items we have? Asking those questions in a way that conveys that we're glad that they're there builds rapport with the people that we support. Here at the Channel 1 food shelf, we have taken down a lot of signage and we're being much more intentional about the signs that we have displayed in the food shelf. Years ago, I worked for a social service agency that provided financial assistance for people's utility bills. At the end of the utility assistance season, I had staff that hung signs up on the exterior doors of the buildings that said, we are out of utility funds, come back in November. Before people even walked in the building, they read, we have nothing for you, go away, come back in 6 months. We want to make sure that the signs that we have are welcoming, convey meaningful information, and are easy to read and easy to understand. And make sure that if it's something that we can have a conversation with somebody about, rather than hanging up a sign, we do that as well. When there's conflict in our food programs, there are ways to lower or mitigate that. First of all, building rapport with customer service is like building a bank account. The more goodwill that we can put in the account, the more that we'll have to draw on when there is conflict in our programs. Most people don't know this, but Walmart put greeters at the front doors years and years ago saying, "Welcome to Walmart," not necessarily to provide good customer service, but to reduce theft and shoplifting. People hear what they need to hear. Individuals shopping at Walmart who were shopping at Walmart heard, "Welcome to Walmart. We're glad that you're here. We hope you have a good time shopping." People who were likely to shoplift heard, "Welcome to Walmart. Somebody's watching you. Somebody's got their eye on you. We know that you're here." People hear what they need to hear. So we say, "Welcome to the food shelf. Welcome to the food program. We're here to serve and support you." And people hear what's meaningful and important to them. We always want to be aware of our nonverbal communication, our stance, our tone. When we have to convey negative information, it's important to be legitimately and honestly sad about it. "I am so sorry. We don't have enough chicken for every household to receive 3 chickens today. I'm very sorry about that. I like chicken. It's important to my family as well. I'm going to have to ask you to put 2 chickens back today. You can take the other one home. Can I help you find something else? I'm so sorry about that. It's just that we don't have enough for everyone." Sometimes we may not have the food resources or what somebody needs. What we always have is the ability to listen and provide information. And if we have to enforce a rule or enforce a regulation, we always give people another chance. There are some special civil rights requirements when it comes to both TFAP food shelves and NAPS distribution programs. We have responsibility with USDA's civil rights requirements. Knowing these civil rights laws and regulations, attending this training, providing language services for people with limited English proficiency, accommodating persons with disabilities. We have some information for religious organizations, public notifications that have to be hung and displayed, participating in compliance reviews, audits, and other visits, resolving conflicts, and providing equal customer service. Both TFAP and USDA CSFP programs have to display the "And Justice for All" poster. Programs should have a grievance policy posted where clients and the public have access to it. We always want people to be able to file a complaint and know where and how to file a complaint. We should have Americans with Disabilities Act plans hung so that individuals in the community may see that and plan for how to accommodate persons who need access to our programs. TFAP programs are required to provide voter registration materials, and both TFAP and CSFP programs should be providing outreach for supplemental nutrition assistance programs, SNAP programs as well. Federal financial assistance is anything of value received from the federal government. When we're talking about TFAP and CSFP, we're talking about food. We're talking about canned goods, dried goods, milk, eggs, chicken, and other items. It's food, but it has a financial value and it's considered federal financial assistance. Acceptance of that federal financial assistance requires all of us, no matter how much food we're receiving, to assure compliance with federal civil rights requirements. A couple of scenarios for us. So a woman receives her NAPS box at your food shelf. She can't drive any longer, and so she tells you she's been paying her neighbor to pick up her food box. Is that okay? And is it a civil rights issue? Actually, it is a civil rights issue. People who have a hard time getting food, both TFAP food shelves and the NAPS box, can select somebody else to pick up food for them. We call that a proxy. TFAP and NAPS are free to eligible individuals and families. Selling, bartering, or trading commodities for anything, including services, is prohibited. Public assistance status, receiving a NAPS box, puts this woman in a protected class, so it could be a civil rights issue. Staff, volunteers, and proxies cannot ask for or accept contributions, tips, delivery fees, anything in exchange for the food. In this food shelf, there's a woman shopping for what seems like a large family. Of course, the people at the registration desk know exactly how many people in her household, but the volunteers on the food shelf floor may not know that. A volunteer notices that she's shopping for a large family, however, and knows that there are some commercial-sized packages of lasagna in storage. Is it okay to go and get that and offer that to the woman? And is it a civil rights issue? The intent is good. We're here to support people, and we're here to provide access to food. However, it could be a case of disparate impact. There could be another shopper at the same time with a protected characteristic who's not offered that item. That would be a civil rights issue. The very best way for all of our food shelves to distribute food equitably is to stock our food shelves with available inventory and let shoppers choose items that meet their needs and their preferences. So in this scenario, we have two food shelves in a community, and we have a concern that a shopper may be accessing both food shelves. The leaders of one food shelf call the other to check and to see if the shopper had indeed been at both food shelves. What are the civil rights issues in this scenario? To receive food in Minnesota, shoppers need to be a resident of Minnesota. However, their physical presence at a food shelf demonstrates their residency. Clients do not need to prove residency with a piece of mail identification or to verify what community they live in. Shoppers can go to more than one food shelf in a month. If she's not prevented from shopping at both food shelves, or there's no enforcing of rules to keep her from going to one food shelf or another, her civil rights haven't been violated. However, even talking about clients without their permission is a privacy and confidentiality issue. In this scenario, we want to provide good service and to not discriminate against Ukrainian-speaking clients. We ask them to come when an interpreter is available. Is this okay? Actually, it would be a form of segregation based on national origin. We can certainly say, here's when an interpreter is available. However, we can't require people to come only on that day. Language access is very important in our community and for our food assistance programs. We should be mindful of the needs of people who don't speak or read English. There are outreach and registration materials available in other languages. There is access to language lines and language posters. We can partner with groups that represent community members who may not be well served by the food shelf. Another thing that we should keep in mind is that children shouldn't be pressed into interpreting for their parents. They may not have the adult skills or the adult vocabulary to understand adult situations. We should find somebody else to interpret for them. In this scenario, however, the director of an outreach program that serves a specific group asks for names of the people that they support in order to provide them extra boxes of food and assistance. Can we do that? The answer is no. We can't give out lists of who we're supporting based on any protected class. That information is confidential. We could certainly say over the course of the year we serve this many families in that group, but not specific names and details. It would also violate civil rights rules to have a distribution limited to people based on national origin. We would want those resources to be available to everyone. Accommodating persons with disabilities is important for both CSFP and TPAP programs, and we want to be mindful that not all disabilities are something that we can see or sense about individuals. People could have a cognitive or mental health disability or something that's not readily noticeable. We can use alternative arrangements to serve individuals with disabilities, such as a proxy or home delivery, but we don't want to exclude people with disabilities because they can't access our food programs. In this scenario, we have a regular shopper. We know him pretty well. His poor hygiene, he talks to himself, but he's usually pretty calm. Today he is cursing and swearing and very agitated, and volunteers and shoppers are visibly upset about his behavior. After talking to him, he continues to curse and swear, and then he starts throwing things. You're concerned about everyone's safety, so you ask him to leave. Was this discrimination? And what else can we do for him? The answer is it's not discrimination, even discrimination based on a disability. Safety comes first. We don't want civil rights concerns to override safety concerns. However, we want to be sensitive to his situation. We want to take a minute to listen to him. We want to be legit sad about asking him to leave, and we want to offer him another chance. Bill, I am so sorry. We're going to have to ask you to leave today. You can come back tomorrow as soon as we open when you're feeling a little bit better. We can also use alternatives. We can say, Bill, is there anybody else who can pick up food for you? Would you mind if we brought you a box of food out to the parking lot? Or again, letting him come back as soon as he's able. Equal opportunity for religious organizations is important, and Channel 1 in both the TPAP and in the CSFP programs partner with faith-based organizations to distribute food. Faith-based organizations can certainly use space in their facilities without removing religious art or symbols. We also ask that faith-based organizations be mindful about not discriminating against beneficiaries or prospective beneficiaries on the basis of religion or religious belief. So in this scenario, a senior center wants to have a NAPS box distribution after they have a Bible service, coffee and donuts break in the morning. Is that okay? Actually, it is okay. It's acceptable to invite clients to participate in a voluntary service or a voluntary event. What's not okay is requiring people to sit through a prayer or participate in a religious program before USDA food distribution. And I've always been taught to think of it as a salad, not soup. We want the components to be separate and optional, not all mixed together. I could take the tomato off of my salad, but I couldn't take it out of my soup. It's been a busy day at our food shelf and we're closing up. A police officer comes in and asks about an individual who was shopping earlier. The officer wants confirmation that the person was there, describes the person, asks for their name, their address, other details including who else is in the household. Can you give any of that information to the police? The answer is no. We can't provide that information to the police. We would recommend that the program contact an attorney about rights and responsibilities if warrants are provided, but without a warrant, we can never turn over private data. We also recommend that programs reach out for immigration resources or further assistance if you need them. I'd like to thank you all for your partnership with Channel 1 to provide equity and access for individuals receiving food support in our communities. We could not do this work without you. This picture represents the difference between equality, everyone having the same, and equity, everyone having access. We are building a community with food equity, and we could not do it without you and without the care and support you provide to individuals in your community. Thank you. When you've completed this training, please send confirmation by connecting to agency services with the link below. And again, we appreciate your support.